Okay, this video is going to look at the characteristics of those in order to determine those things that have an elastic or an inelastic demand. And the four things, or the four characteristics that we typically focus on to determine elasticity is the number of substitutes, the necessity of the product. Is it a necessity or is it a luxury? How much of your budget does it take up? And then how long do you have, or the amount of time that you have to make adjustments. So the first one we're going to look at is substitutes. And if a product has many substitutes, if there's a lot of things out there, it is going to be fairly price sensitive. If you change the price of this, I'll just buy its substitute. So you really don't have a lot of control over the price of products that have lots and lots of substitutes, because you'll lose a lot of business. So if it has lots of substitutes, then it's going to have an elastic demand. If there are no substitutes for this product, gasoline, if you're driving a car, obviously you have to have it. So sometimes there are few, if any, substitutes. It tends to be price inelastic. So look what happens when they raise the price of gas. We continue to buy it at almost the same rate. We do not see very much change in the quantity that we purchase. Necessity versus luxury. If it is a necessity and they change the price, if you are diabetic and they increase the price of insulin, it really doesn't matter. You're going to continue to buy it because it is a necessity. So those things that are necessities tend to have an inelastic demand. Gas is another one. If you drive a car that runs on gas, it's a necessity if you want to go anywhere. So if it's a luxury item, a nice brand new car, that's a luxury item. A vacation, those sorts of things. When we start changing the price of those because they're not necessary. I know during the recession there were times where certain businesses, nail techs and massage therapists, started losing business because in a recession those are the first things that are going to go because we don't need them. So they tend to have luxuries are elastic because we don't need them. You change the price very much, we'll just quit buying them. Things that we have to have, we will continue to buy. Percentage of your budget. If it is a very, very small percentage of your budget, it's going to tend to be elastic. The example they typically use in textbooks is table salt. If you go and buy a container of Morton salt, it's like 60 cents. So if you increase the price of Morton salt by 100%, you're still talking $1.20. People are going to continue to buy it because it's such a small portion of their budget, and will actually look at some curves and see that what is called is perfectly inelastic over a huge percentage. You start doubling and tripling and quadrupling, and it doesn't matter because it's a huge bottle of table salt, and you can raise that several 100% before you even getting to the point where some spices you're paying $9, $10 for a little bottle. So small percentage tends to be inelastic just because, if you double the price of 2-cent gum, it's still 4 cents, so you're good to go on that. So if it's a large portion of your budget, if you're already buying a car and they raise the price by 5%, a brand new car, that's a fairly substantial increase. So a 5% increase in the price of a car, they're going to see a fairly substantial hit on the number of people who are going to buy that, or the quantity that's demanded of that particular item because of the percentage of it. Time to make adjustments. This one's interesting just because this one, over time, it's kind of thought that everything, let me come over here, has an elastic demand, and I'll explain that here in just a second. Several years back, my air conditioning went out in the summer. It went out like in the hottest month. It was like 100 and some degrees in my bedroom upstairs. As soon as I woke up, I knew something was wrong. I called the guy to come and fix it. My first question was, when can you be here? I didn't even care how much it was. We were miserable. And so if you have no time to make adjustments, my heating goes out, my air conditioning goes out, those sorts of things. Your car breaks down. You have to have it fixed in this moment. Just fix it and I'll figure out how to pay it later. If you're sick right now today, you go to the hospital. You don't really have any time to make adjustments, so they can pretty much charge you whatever they want and you have to pay because you don't have any time to make adjustments. If you have time to make adjustments, things become more elastic. Years ago, we knew that fuel oil prices were said to or predicted to double. And so we put in a wood-burning stove. And so over 6 months, 7-month period of time, when winter rolled around and the fuel oil prices actually did go up, we just shut it off and started heating our home with the wood that we had. So we took something, the heat of our home, in the middle of winter that would have been inelastic if we didn't have any time to make adjustments. And we made it because we had 6, 7, 8 months to deal with that problem. And so if you think about it, there's not a problem that can't be solved if we have enough time. So anything that has no substitutes today, or that is a necessity. If we get the cure for diabetes, over time we can take something that's necessary for people who have who need insulin that are diabetic, and we can take that and no longer make that a necessity. So if you have enough time, everything is said to be elastic just because we can make adjustments. We can come up with cures. We can come up with substitutes. We can come up with alternatives if we're given enough time to do that. So these are the 4 things, the 4 characteristics, and we're actually going to do some handouts, and I'll make a video for that.